We move now to an interview Donald Trump did on Fox News with Maria Baritoromo. That was quite the interview. Now, you're all aware, I'm sure, of the fact that Maria Baritoromo is extremely pro-Trump. She's willing to go along with all the Biden conspiracy theories and is one of the loudest advocates on behalf of those. And she was big on the election conspiracy theories. So this is not a rational reporter or something that we're talking about, but to give her credit in this interview, she actually confronted Trump a couple times, and it was hilarious to watch how off-put Trump would get because he's so used to just pure softballs on Fox News, and he kind of falls apart. The slightest pushback and Trump immediately crumbles and can't effectively answer. You'll see what I mean as we go through these clips. Starting off with this, on the subject of all the people who Trump hired, and back then he would call them incredible, and then they'd leave his administration, he'd call them rhinos and stupid and horrible and everything you can imagine. Take a look.
New York person. I was a New York builder.
Well, you were an outsider, and that's why I was a totally outsider.
But the one problem with that, and I love the outsider thing, but you don't know people, so you're relying on other people to give you names to be the head of this, head of that. And by the way, we had unbelievable people. We had some, look, I rebuilt the military.
Yeah, but your critics say you had plenty of personnel mistakes.
No, of course, but everybody does. Obama had. What about Biden? Look at the people running this Biden thing. The difference is I fire people. I fired Comey. I got rid of him.
You didn't fire Christopher Wray.
Well, you know what? At the time, I don't know. Let's see what the final judgment is. But I didn't fire Christopher Wray. I didn't fire people I would have, but I fired a lot of people. You know, I had turnover. They have no turnover right now.
How do you know?
So frazzled there, Trump. I fired people I would have. I mean, I should have. I didn't, but I fired a lot of people, okay? Which, what does that say about your hiring? If you're having to fire so many people at such a rapid pace. And really think about all these people. Bill Barr, James Mattis, Mark Esper, Mark Milley, Rex Tillerson, H.R. McMaster, John Bolton, John Kelly, Mick Mulvaney, Anthony Scaramucci, Stephanie Grisham, Michael Cohen, Ty Cobb, Alyssa Farrah-Griffin, Sarah Matthews, Cassidy Hutchinson, and just goes on and on and on. And many of those people are not just now being insulted by Trump. They are, but not just that. They identify Trump as a massive threat to democracy. After working super closely with him, that's many of those individuals' takeaway, which is frightening. Then in this next clip, Trump's going on and on as he does, praising Xi Jinping because he has an actual obsession with authoritarian leaders around the world. And Maria Baritoromo seems rather uncomfortable.
Oh, I would say maybe it's going to be more than that, because we're going to have, look, I want China to do great. I do. And I like President Xi a lot. He was a very good friend of mine during my term.
Well, look, COVID cover-up, intellectual property theft.
When COVID came,
the list is long from our number one adversary, so I don't know if he's a friend.
No, but I got along with him great. I'm not sure he loved what I was doing because I was, getting along with him.
I don't think he wants you in the White House, Mr.
No,
President.
no, he doesn't. The market almost crashed when I won Iowa and New Hampshire. The market went down tremendously.
Maria's like, stop it, Don. Stop praising brutal authoritarians. It's not a good look. And really quickly before moving on, just want to quickly mention, I meant to mention it earlier, you can find my show at Luke Beasley on YouTube, by the way. And then also this part.
I'm not sure he loved what I was doing because I was, getting along with him.
I don't think he wants you in the White House, Mr. President.
No,
he has such a limited brain capacity. It's pretty stunning. He keeps repeating, I got along with him great. I got along with him great. Then tries to make a point about how Xi Jinping didn't love what he was doing, but then just snaps back to that one sentence he knows how to repeat. We got along. So he said, I'm not sure he loved what I was doing because I got along with him great. Huh? Then in this next moment, he says that Biden is a Manchurian candidate because he gets a lot of money from China, which is, of course, a lie.
But he's incompetent. Everybody knows it. He doesn't even know. Somebody's making decisions in there. It's not him. He is look, when it comes to a lot of countries, I think he's a Manchurian candidate because he receives money from China. He gets a lot of money from China. People say, I wonder why he's so weak on China. He gets a lot of money from China.
The other thing that's notable about that allegation is that Trump is the one who received millions while he was president from foreign governments, including the government of China through his businesses. Every allegation is a confession. It really does seem to play out like that quite often. Then in this next moment, super interesting, the RNC currently is dealing with some major financial troubles right now, which is delightful. They just had their worst fundraising year since 2013. But if you adjust for inflation, it would be their worst since 1993. that does not bode well for them going into this election, given that the DNC is in an incredibly strong situation financially. So Baritoromo asked Trump about that, and he once again just sort of flounders.
The Republicans have to be tougher.
You talk about this optimism ahead that we could see some relief, but the RNC doesn't seem to be so strong. I mean, the Democrats have all the money. Look at what we see. We get the Democrats actually with the money and spending it. The RNC seeking credit lines. The RNC reported its lowest bank balance at the point in any year in 2016. Comerica says the Michigan GOP defaulted on a loan of $500,000.
So I have a lot of money. And the money that they get, people are not looking at the RNC. They want changes. You have to understand, I have nothing to do with the RNC. I don't.
So given that the 2024 election is expected to be closed and money unfortunately plays such a big role in the outcomes of elections, I think this is really good news. And I know David has talked about how even though for a while the polling has looked iffy, of course we did get that good Quinnipiac poll, but a lot of the polls have looked concerning for sure. Even though that is the case, this next 9 months before the election is going to change a lot. And that's something that I'm increasingly pretty confident about. Once the American electorate really starts paying attention, as the election becomes closer and more relevant, as Trump is going from one courtroom to another, maybe some convictions in there, Democrats are actually starting to get out there and campaign with a strong message. Plus, they have a lot more resources, as was just mentioned, going into this final sprint. A lot's going to change before November, and I think that's going to be in Biden's direction and favor. Then here Trump seems to think he can win New York, the state of New York, in the general election, along with a bunch of other blue states.
I think they're going to vote for me. So I think we're going to give New York a heavy shot. They're very unhappy in New York, what's happening. And they're unhappy with the crime. You take a look at the crime in New York, it's at record levels. The other thing is, and very importantly, New Jersey. I think New Jersey can be flipped. I think that Virginia can be flipped. I think that New Mexico can be flipped. And I think Minnesota can be flipped. And I'm not even sure that everything can't be flipped.
And you focused on Pennsylvania, too.
I did great in Pennsylvania twice.
Will you pursue it?
So at one point he says he's not sure he couldn't win every state. What is wrong with him? I mean, how do I respond to that? It's a pretty powerful declaration. And I think this sort of talk from Trump should be encouraged. The left should say, yeah, maybe we're real worried you're going to win New York, because then he could go waste time and energy trying to win the state of New York. And Joe Biden can use that time getting ahead in the swing states that are actually going to decide the election. And speaking of Trump's narcissism, take a look at this doozy of a moment where Trump wanders his way through a ramble about how Tim Scott is actually better for Trump than for Tim Scott. Oh no.
You know, I called Tim Scott this because a lot of people like Tim Scott. I called him and I said, you're a much better candidate for me than you are for yourself. When I watched him, he was fine, he was good, but he was very low key, et cetera, et cetera. I watched him in the last week defending me and sticking up for me and fighting for me. I said, man, you're a much better person for me than you are for yourself. Because for himself, he was low key. For me, he's been a real tiger. He's been incredible. And others have too.
So maybe it's Tim Scott.
Well, it could be a lot of people. But it was interesting. I was watching Tim. I've been watching, for a while. I watched him campaign as a candidate. But I watched him over the last 2 weeks. As you know, he fully endorsed me, gave me a beautiful endorsement. And he has been really strong in terms of that. No, but that has nothing to do. I don't want anybody to take even any inference.
No statement more accurately portrays the person that Donald Trump is than him saying, quote, he's a better person for me than he is for himself. Yeah. That's Donald Trump right there. If you're enjoying the show so far today, make sure to subscribe to my channel at Luke Beasley on YouTube. And of course, make sure you're subscribed to this channel. Back with much more after this.
I love my Helix sleep mattress. I've been sleeping on Helix mattresses for years now, which is why I asked them to be a sponsor. You actually take their famous sleep quiz, takes just a few minutes to answer questions about your sleep preferences, body type, sleep position, whether you have back pain, and Helix will match you with a mattress that's perfect for you, which is really unique and helpful because a lot of people don't know where to start when buying a mattress. I certainly didn't. Their newest collection of mattresses, called Helix Elite, come with a built-in Glaciotex layer to keep you cool at night, an extra layer of foam for pressure relief, and thousands of extra microcoils for best-in-class support and durability. All of their mattresses ship right to your door, totally free. They come with a 10 or 15-year warranty, and you get 100 nights to decide if you like it. My audience also gets a whopping 20% off all orders, plus 2 free pillows. Go to helixsleep.com/Pacman and enter code HelixPartner20 at checkout. The link is down below.